Sometimes reality is the strangest fantasy of all.
Some people only interact with people through television and movies.
Stereotypes in film come about when the people producing their film don't have a strong connection to the subjects, and they only have a secondhand understanding of the way the group pictured acts or talks.
Black people were ushered into Hollywood because white people realized that, one, making fun of Black people was something that would sell tickets. And so what did we have created? Minstrel shows. Black people weren't allowed to act in these shows, and so that's where we get blackface. But then we're like, wait, maybe we should bring some actual Black people on stage and laugh at them and throw stuff at them. Then we get into movies, right? And so it's the same thing. What was the first film that did really well in the box office? Birth of a Nation. What was that about? A white man who was in blackface pretending to be a Black man who raped a white woman, and it's about the rise of the Klan.
For Black people, one of the biggest stereotypes that I see on screens, we're lazy, we're just there for entertainment. A lot of times for Black women, the stereotype is that they're loud.
For decades, Black women were only able to get roles as like the nanny, the cleaner. They created the stereotype of the mammy.
You see a lot of films, the Black woman is usually the best friend, but never the main story.
Those are the only roles that Black women were able to do. And so those were the only roles that young Black people saw them in. That is the very beginning of like Black people in Hollywood. So where do we go from there?
If there's a single story going on, people watching it assume that that's who those people are. And that's all they have to go on. There was a show in the 80s on ABC called Family Matters. And there was a young character on there named Steve Urkel. And it became so popular. It was like one of the #1 rated shows on television. Black family living in Chicago, and this nerdy kid with glasses and suspenders and stuff coming up. And he was such an exaggeration of Black people. He was just eccentric. And it didn't help that I wore glasses and kind of slightly resembled him, but everyone expected anyone that was wearing glasses and was Black to act like Steve Urkel. And looking back on it now, I cringe looking at the show. When you see stereotypes in filmmaking, to me, you're seeing lazy writing. And that can be very dangerous.
Well, I think it's both important for those groups as well as for society at large to understand that there isn't only one way of being an American. There isn't only one American experience, and we're richer for it when we see all these different lives.
But a lot of people have tricked themselves into thinking that misrepresentation on the screen or in media is a thing of the past, and now we value diversity, and no, that's still not the case. Every day I flip through the TV and I see something and I'm like, what? And then even when the representation of Black people and people of color, even when it's on target, even when they get it right, if they happen to, which most of the time they don't, I then will Google, okay, who DP'd this commercial? Or, okay, what production company did that trailer I just saw? That looks interesting. And then it's just a list of all white men. I always say, I do stories on my community with my community. Who's gonna tell my story better than me? Who's gonna tell your story better than you? In order to get to a place where we have started to do the work to undo the really harsh and dark history of media and Black people and brown people and people of color in the media, we have to start thinking of new ways to do what we're doing because the old way wasn't working.
Those negative things can simply be solved by bringing the people who are going to be pictured to the table. To explain, like, no, we wouldn't say it that way, or that's not a food we would eat.
It's important to have diverse people, diverse directors, diverse editors, producers in documentary filmmaking, just filmmaking in general. It's about having those people there and giving them the ability and the power to make decisions.
When we have good representation in media, then that's when the healing begins. That's when the undoing and the decolonizing begins. That's when the real work and the fun stuff happens. We can make really beautiful images and make people feel really great about themselves, and we can begin to create a world we want to live in. Sometimes people think representation is where it ends. Representation is where it begins. That's step zero. Like that's just step zero. That's not the end of it. Films themselves don't create change. Films move people to create change.